Hello, guys. So what is this? Is this March 4th? Okay, so today I know it is Friday. I think it may be March 4th. Maybe some other day in March. I don't know. Who knows? I'm self-employed. Don't bug me about the dates. So it's another interesting weather day here in Maryland. We got about 2 inches of snow last night. So when we woke up this morning to go to the gym, there were 2 or so inches of snow on the ground. And now, as you can see, this is kind of what like Maryland is like. We literally had 2 inches of snow on the ground this morning. And now, as I sit here and look, I can't see any snow at all. So that's what I say. Like with Maryland, that's where the weather can be very weird. 1 minute it's snowing, and then the next it's gone. We'll get like 6 inches of snow one day, and by the next day it'll be gone. And we'll get like snow during the night, and then it'll be like 40 degrees, 50 degrees the next day. Today it's not that warm. I guess it's about 40 degrees, but yeah, you'll notice the video now is in a little bit of a square shape. So we are now doing high-tech VGA video. So I have a Galaxy Note 4, and it has a number of settings for the selfie video, all the way up to 1080p. I think higher than 1080p if you wanted it. And so what I found out the issue was, so a couple of these days, the video has just stopped at about the 43 mark, 46 minutes and like 43 second mark. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I took a look, and 46 minutes didn't really seem to mean anything. Like most of these like little video cameras, they'll have default limits. Like for 5K, it'll be like, or for 4K video, it'll be something like 5 minutes. But I've never really heard of like a 46 minute and 43 second, cutoff before. So I was looking into it and doing some research, and basically what I found out is that the 46 minute mark is where the video hits the 4 gig limit. So there's not a time limit on the Note 4, but there is a 4 gig size limit for the video. So even doing it 720p video, it hits 4 gigs in size at that 46 minute mark. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot you can do about it. Basically, the reason is the file system that Android uses for this for the SD card is something called FAT32. If you don't know, there are a lot of different file systems out there: NTFS, FAT, a whole bunch of different file systems. They all have their benefits and their drawbacks. For whatever reason, Android has gone with FAT32, and FAT32 fundamentally has a max file size of 4 gigs. So there does seem to be some ways to try to hack around this. Basically, you can try to format your SD card in some other file system. But again, it seems like a little bit of hacking. Like every time I've read into it, it's not like people seemed like that confident about it. They're kind of like, you should be able to do this. And again, as I say with a lot of my technical stuff, is I want to focus on what I want to focus on, not focus on troubleshooting all the time. So basically, my thought is, I don't want to be out here talking to the camera and having all kinds of weird-ass issues because there's file system problems. So what I decided to do instead is simply go down to the VGA setting. So the VGA setting has a lot lower resolution than 720p. And so now I should be able to talk longer before I hit the 4 gig mark. If I was going to spitball it should give me at least 25% more. So instead of 46 minutes, I should have an hour to talk into a camera. And let's face it, Eli talking to the camera, we should probably max it out at about an hour. Because it really shouldn't take me any more than an hour to do this little walk here. So that'll be a good size, I think. We shall see. And as a lot of people say, you're just looking at my face and listening to my voice. Most of you guys are just listening to my voice anyway. So it doesn't really matter what the video looks like. The video today is pretty nice. So this is our current little area. As I say, this is basically what my backyard looks like. Kind of nice. I guess I should show you guys some more panoramas. Maybe as we go, I'll show you more panoramas. The nice thing, too, is the wind is down. So it's not warm, and it's not sunny, but there's not a lot of wind. So at least that's a good thing, as far as doing things like videos are concerned. As far as weight and the geek diet redux and all that, I'm down to the 201 mark today, within the 201 weight class, I guess you could say. We did go out and do exercise today. I did my strength training out there on the machines. So feel pretty good with that. I was a little grumpy going out, to be honest with you. Going out this morning, I was grumpy. Wasn't that I didn't feel like physically I could do it. I just kind of felt like a 5-year-old. Like, I don't want to do it. But I did it. And then after it was over, felt good. So tomorrow, we're going to go out. We're going to do the spinning again. So we'll do an hour of spinning. And again, as I say, any of you guys trying to get in shape, spinning is the way to go. Gets you some very good cardio. Gets you some very good cardio. But yeah, that's about what's going on with weight and all that kind of stuff. Well, I want to talk to you guys today about the big concept for today. Never mind. Oh no. Anyways, I was going to say something, but never mind. Maybe I'll leave that for tomorrow. But anyways, I want to talk to you guys today about intimidation. Because this seems to be a big issue for a lot of people. And they get intimidated by situations. They get intimidated by people. And unfortunately, in the modern world, instead of sucking it up and driving on, as they used to say in the military, they kind of like cowardly slink away and go home. And this is a bad thing, especially if you're going to be a technology professional, right? Because one of the things you have to think about, especially if you want to be a technology professional, is that we're always going to be dealing with new experiences. We are always going to be dealing with new experiences. Because that's the thing, like there's always just new technology coming out. Every single day, there's new technology coming out. Not only is there new technology coming out, but the fact of the matter is with almost any technology, there's somebody out there that's a hell of a lot more skilled than you are. And there's this idea that at some point you feel so confident in your skill sets that you do not worry anymore, that you never feel sheepish, that you're never intimidated. You just go out there and you do it. And I can say, after like 20 years in the business, that is not true. Because, I mean, that's the thing. Like at a certain point, that's the thing. Like when you're new, you're scared of looking like a newbie idiot, so you get intimidated. But one of the things that gets hard in our field, that nobody really talks about, is that once you get old, is that you also get intimidated because so many of these young kids, many times, know the technology that you have to deal with far better than you do, right? So with a lot of professions, if you're in law, or if you're a doctor, or if you're in a lot of these professions, as you get older in your profession, as you mature into your profession, you just fundamentally get better, right? You understand more, you memorize more, you know more. Again, if you look at a doctor who's 50 and you look at a doctor who's 30, the doctor who's 50 many times really doesn't have to feel intimidated about the younger doctor because they just simply know more. They know more, they're more experienced, just all the way around. Their credentials are better, right? Because if you're going to have surgery done, you want somebody to operate on you that's had more experience. And for a lot of these kind of things, things change. But people that are older generally have more experience. Well, the issue is in the technology world, that's not necessarily the case. Again, new technologies come out, and it's very easy for you to miss some certain type of technology and then have that come into your infrastructure. And all of a sudden, you don't know that technology, but some young kid whippersnapper does, right? So think about it. Like, so let's say you're a network engineer, right? You're a CCNP. You've had control over your networks, your NOC, your Network Operations Center, for the past 5 or 6 years, and you feel awesome, and you feel cool. But here's the thing. What if you really haven't been focusing on SDN, so software-defined networking? You know it's there. You should probably get around to learning at some point, but you really haven't focused on it. And then all of a sudden, from on high, you get told that you have to implement SDN within your infrastructure, software-defined networking. So the DevOps department, the Development Operations Department, has decided that the new applications that are going to be deployed have to be able to talk directly to the network layer, prioritize things programmatically and such. And so it has been decided everything's going to go to SDN. Well, here's the issue. You have no experience with SDN. Like literally no experience with SDN. And so they bring in some 26-year-old who's been dealing with SDN for the past 3 years. And here's the thing, that 26-year-old, that's like 15 years younger than you. that's been in the profession like maybe 5 years at the most now is far better than you at this particular type of technology. And the thing is, you may not even grasp how the technology works. Again, one of the reasons I keep beating you guys over the head about learning programming and scripting is because in this new world, scripting is going to become how things are administered, how things are dealt with. So when you're dealing with cloud computing, not open compute, that one. OpenStack. If you're dealing with OpenStack, really to administer OpenStack, you have to do scripting. Again, in this new world of software-defined networking, Cisco One uses an API, where there's an actual API where you can connect down to the network layer, so your apps can literally control how the network functions, like dynamically, right? And so here's the thing: you have some kid come in, not only does a kid understand this thing called software-defined networking better than you do? He actually has experience there where you don't, but then also really understands scripting and programming in a way that you don't. So it's one of those things. It's not simply that you don't understand one technology, but you're actually lacking a key skill set in being able to deploy and maintain that type of technology. And then all of a sudden, you can get intimidated really, 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 really quickly, right? Because that's the thing. In our world, I tell you guys, one of the nice things about being a young person in the IT profession is the IT profession, the technology profession, is all about solutions. It is all about solving problems. And you're all like, yeah, man, it's all about solving problems. And it's like, well, here's the thing, right? That's really cool and awesome when you're young. But as you get older, the issue is it's almost like sports. If you're not scoring points, if you're not getting touchdowns, you go out the door. The boss don't care. The CEO really doesn't care who's responsible for the knock. Doesn't care if it's a 40-year-old, doesn't care if it's a 24-year-old, only cares about if there's a solution. So a lot of times, like, these older folks will get really intimidated by the younger folks, because the younger folks come in, they intrinsically understand the new technology in a way the older folks don't. They understand just the underlying stuff in the way the older folks don't. And then all of a sudden, the older folks start seeing their jobs, and they start realizing, oh, crap, my job could disappear quick, right? And so it's intimidating. So that's one thing in our field. And that's one thing, like I say, a lot of the noobs out there don't really understand. And this is one of the reasons why I keep trying to pump into your guys' heads to remember that everybody's a human being. Treat everybody like a human being. Because one of the problems with the noobs, one of the problems with all these young people, all these snot-nosed young people, is they are so self-centered. They're so focused on themselves, they don't see how concerned and worried other people are, right? So if I'm only worried about my issues, if I'm only worried about my concerns, if I'm only worried about my insecurity, it's real easy to completely miss other people's insecurity. And it's real easy to miss the fact that your boss may be scared shitless you or one of your peers is literally going to take their job. And again, for a lot of you young folks, like, well, we should take your job. Well, again, for that boss, they've got a mortgage, they've got kids in college, they have spouses to deal with, right? So now you have this young kid who's coming in, and they may have a skill set that's just gonna make the older person obsolete, and then everything can go bad. And if you don't try to make people feel comfortable all the way around, again, you may not realize in the relationship, it's really easy to assume that you're the one that's most intimidated, when in reality, it's the other poor schmuck, right? Why this is coming up for me, again, whenever I do these vlogs, trying to make this all topical, is because my new clients that I got for these instruction things that I'm doing. So I've talked about before, regardless of whatever's happening with YouTube, I am diversifying my income. Again, as I say with YouTube, they have done enough for me not to leave. I will give them that. YouTube has done enough for me not to leave outright. On the other hand, they haven't exactly made me feel so comfortable that I'm not worried about, paying the mortgage or all that. So I'm diversifying, how I make money. And it's not just a one-off thing. It's how I plan to go to in the future. And so one of the things is I'm just basically hiring myself out for personality services, as I call it. So like a company called Plixer, like in the past, hired me to be a booth babe. So I was at their booth for like 3 days at Cisco Live, waving around a sword, and had a surprising amount of people come up and hug me there. So that's not a bad thing, right? Standing around a trade show and getting selfies, that's not a bad way to make a few $1,000s. So I did that before, and like Spiceworks before paid me to go out to their offices and do interviews. And so I'm kind of continuing that now. And with my new clients, though, it's a little bit intimidating. Because like when Plixer had me to come out and be booth babe, like, you're not really intimidated by being a booth babe. So you want me to stand in your booth and wave around a stupid plastic sword and get people's attention? I can do that. I can be a personality, right? That's not too intimidating. And then, like I say, with Spiceworks, going out there and interviewing people, by the time I did that, I had already interviewed like 10 other people. So there's nothing really intimidating about that. It's a new environment, something you have to be used to, but otherwise, no big deal. But then, now, when I'm getting hired out, the two companies hired me are a chapter of the IEEE, and this other company called INE, right? So the thing is, like with the IEEE is, it's kind of like the professional association of the really smart engineers. So many of the things that technology professionals deal with, folks like me deal with, are created by like the members of the IEEE. Basically, you open up a book, and they say the IEEE decided on X, Y, or Z date that this is what's going to happen. So the IEEE, I mean, these are real engineers. These are PhDs. These are really, 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 really smart people. They may be highly focused people, but they're really smart people. And then the INE folks, again, these are the people that train CCIEs. And again, they focus on CCIEs. Like their focus is CCIE. Test prep for CCIE. Not CCNAs, not CCNP. Test prep for CCIE. So the one is having me come out and do a class, and the other one's having me do an interview. And I can see with a lot of you folks out there that you would get intimidated by this. Be like, oh, I can't do that. I can't stand in front of a room of 50 members of the IEEE and give some presentation on whatnot. But what you find out in life is that many times that the skills that you have are actually good enough for these people. And that many times the skills that you have are skills that they don't have. So for me, like I said, I have the gift for gab. I have the gift to be able to see a type of technology, to learn about it very quickly, and then to basically break it down in my head, and then be able to explain it to people. So, I mean, to give you a hint of how good I am at this, like when I go and I do the virtual booth crawl, so I go to these trade shows all the time, and then I'll go do a virtual booth crawl where I talk about a product there. And so what's really funny to see is a lot of the salespeople there, I'll sit there and I'll talk with the salespeople for like 2 minutes, right? I don't want to spend a half an hour learning about their product, 2 minutes. So I'll sit there, I'll talk about their product for 2 minutes, I'll figure out the specifications or whatever, and then I'll turn on the camera and I will do the spiel. And you don't know how many times the salespeople sitting behind their little booth are like literally sitting there with their mouths open, going, how the hell do you do that? You literally just gave a better sales presentation than we can give. And we've been dealing with this product for a year. And it's just like, well, you know what? What I am really good at is being able to digest information quickly and then be able to spit it out in a fashion that other people understand. And so one of the things you have to be thinking about whenever you're dealing with people that you may be intimidated by is that you may have a skill set that they just functionally don't have, right? So with the IEEE, they're having me go and they're having me actually do a class on very, very simple, like home networking stuff. Again, aren't you guys the ones that deal with like 802.11ac and all that kind of thing? But what you find out is for a lot of these people, their worlds are so high in the technology. Again, they're worried about packet size, they're worried about windowing, they're worried about all this stuff that frankly, I read about in a book, remember long enough to pass the test, and then it never matters again, right? But their world is so high up that they don't think about it from the lower level. So you have this PhD computer engineer or whatever, and then their kids at home setting up the Xbox, and they can't figure out why Xbox Live isn't working well for them, right? And so it's just simple issues like with latency or how ISPs actually work. Because again, they come up with standards. They say, this is how the standard is supposed to work. And then that's never how it's actually, what I'm saying? It's like, yep, I understand that's how the standard's supposed to work. And if some underpaid engineer in Taiwan hadn't half-assed the design of this thing, I'm sure it would work that way. But the product that we're dealing with, one, it was a half-assed design, and then two, it was a half-assed build, and three, well, then we got this mess going on right here, right? And it's one of those things, like, so a lot of times, that's one of the things you don't realize with people, is that you're bringing skills to the table that they don't necessarily have. So you're like, oh, they're so high up there. But a lot of times they can be so high up there and just not know what's going on. And some of our best clients back in the day were actually like computer scientists. Some of my best clients, like especially with my individual clients, they were like really high level computer scientists. They could just build amazing things with code. I had no idea how the hell a Windows machine worked, though. You know what I'm saying? As long as their IDE was functional and all that, they could do magic. Man, as soon as they got a piece of spyware, they were screwed. They just didn't know. It just wasn't their skill set. And so with the IEEE, I'll be doing that class. And again, they seem interested enough. They want to do more. And then with the INE.com, they want me to talk to the CCIEs. And again, I was talking to them, and I'm like, you do know. I mean, I am not an expert in Cisco. It's like when I say I'm not an expert in Cisco, that's kind of shining the turret a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, as I've talked about with you guys before, I've learned Cisco a couple of times. It just hasn't come up with me in the real world. When I was in the enterprise world, I got trained in Cisco. And then, frankly, once I got back to my office, I was allowed to work on literally everything other than the Cisco equipment. Telephone systems were mine. Servers were mine. PCs were mine. All kinds of weird-ass analytic systems were mine. The router and switch? Hell no, boy. Hell no. The only reason you went to that class was if a nuclear bomb goes off in Denver, we want you guys to be able to keep the networks up and running. Otherwise, you don't get to touch Cisco equipment. So, I was talking to the INE guy. I'm like, again, I know network, the TCP/IP and subnets and gateways and all that kind of stuff. But like Cisco, I mean, right? I can't keep up. Let's just say keeping up in a conversation is about my skill level with it. But that was the thing. Like talking with him, he was like, okay, yeah, that's no big deal. You know what? We're gonna do this thing. We want you to come and interview people more about like what their careers are like. Not about necessarily configuring, core switches for a city or an ISP or something, specific settings, but more like, what's required. And that's the thing to think about. Like, so, what's required in order to be somebody who installs or maintains core switches for companies like Comcast or Netflix? What made you decide to become a CCIE? What is it actually like to be a CCIE? All these things. And so that's the thing, is like a lot of times you walk into situations, you get very intimidated by the people you're dealing with. Then what you realize, what they want out of you is actually something that you can actually really easily do. But if you get intimidated by it, if you're like, oh, I can't work for a company like that. I can't. What could I possibly bring to the table? Again, that's the thing, as I tell you guys, you can't, it's very difficult to fail. And again, I keep bringing up these basic concepts because maybe after I said it like the 567th time, you might actually like hear what the hell I'm saying. But it is very hard to fail. It is very hard to fail. Almost never do people fail. Almost never do people fail. Like if you are doing, I don't know, if you're going out there and something happens, you have a heart attack or whatever, yeah, I guess you failed there. But most of the time, people do not fail. What they do is they give up. And so if you go in there and you're honest with people and you explain what you're able to do, you listen to what they want, what you'll find is if you just go through and you just do what they're asking you to do, that you can be very successful as long as you do not give up. So one of the reasons why I've been successful with so many different facets of technology and all that kind of stuff is I have the goal, the plan in my head, I have the goal in my head, and then I basically just keep doing it until I get fired or until I decide to give up, right? Again, when I worked in the enterprise world, the first job I had in the enterprise world, again, I never should have gotten that job. I was 23 years old. I was dealing with build outs. Again, when I got that job, I barely had half my MCSE done. I did not have any professional network experience. All my experience was electronics repair, which is a world of difference. And so I won't go into this job, and I was one of 2 people to support 10 offices throughout the Northeast region. Not only that, we had to remotely support other offices, fly out to other places. We had 3 build outs that year. We had all kinds of stuff going on, right? And that was the thing, is it was just like, how the hell am I gonna do this? I just got in there, and from day one, I was over my head. As I talk about the story, so when I got hired by that company, I wasn't gonna take the job, to be honest with you. I wasn't gonna take the job because it was over my head. But then the guy that hired me said, don't worry. We are going to have one of our top guys come out and train you for 3 weeks. So it's like, when you come in, he's gonna come out, he's gonna work with you 40 hours a week, get you up to speed over 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, I can do that then. Okay, yeah, okay, you're gonna give me that training? Okay, fine, right? And then, like 2 days or whatever, before I'm supposed to start the job, I get a call from the guy going, oh, yeah, that person that was supposed to train you for 3 weeks, they got like, I don't know, something happened to them. They got promoted or something. It wasn't bad, some promoted or something like that. So they're not gonna be able to come out and train you. And then I was like, okay, well, then what am I supposed to do? They're like, well, you know, you start your job in a couple of days, and just do your best. I was like, what? So I go there, and again, going through MCSE boot camp and dealing with the real world of technology is just an entirely different world. And so I'm there. It's my first day, and again, the partner that I had, we never ended up getting along very well, and she was just not happy to have me there. I was just a young whippersnapper to her. And I think she had a chip on her shoulder from the boss or something. I think there was some weird stuff going on. I mean, and I'm not saying that she was wrong. I just think I wasn't privy to whatever the hell. There was something there. She was not happy to see me, right? So I come in, and again, she's not giving me very much training, because she obviously wants me to give up, go away. So okay, whatever. So we're going through this stuff. We go up to the Philadelphia office to take a look at that. And then we're up in the Philadelphia office. There's a problem at the Pittsburgh office. And so she's like, Eli, I need you to go and swap a switch in the Pittsburgh office. And I was like, I don't know any Cisco. And that time I knew no Cisco. I knew what a switch was. My limit of my experience was the Network Essentials exam for the MCSE. And TCP/IP. I think I passed the TCP/IP exam. That was it. That was the limit of my knowledge as far as switches were concerned. So I was like, I don't know if I can do that. She's like, listen, the switch is already configured. All you have to do is they're going to ship the switch in. You go there. You unscrew the switch out of the rack, the old switch out of the rack. You screw the new switch in. You replug all the cables as they were. You call up the datacom department, have them do their tests, and then you go home. I was like, I can do that, right? I can do that. So I drive all the way to Pittsburgh. I do my stuff. And then when I finish, I'm talking to the manager, the general manager of that office. Okay, I'm leaving. He's like, hell no, you're not. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, nobody's been here. No, we haven't had an IT professional here in like 4 months. We got a lot of work to do. I was like, what? So I go in, and I am cleaning up these systems. And again, this is the day of Windows 90, like 95 in the production environment, which sucked. That thing would like crash if you looked at it wrong. But so I'm doing it. And just things are breaking. It is just horrible. And literally, the first nickname that I receive ever in the computer world is CK. Can you guess what CK means? CK means computer killer. Yep, that is right. Literally, the first 3 computers that I sit down and try to work on, fucking blue screen of death, and just commit suicide. And you gotta wipe and reload. Oh, that does not make you feel confident though, right? And I was intimidated as hell, man. I was like, what the hell? Damn it, this is not what I signed up for. But I breathed in, I breathed out. I used every resource I could. And you know what? I ended up spending like 4 days there, and got everything working perfectly well, and was able to go back. The manager there loved me. Everybody there loved me. They still always called me CK from that time on, but it was good, right? It was a very intimidating situation, but I breathed in, I breathed out. I focused at the problems at hand. I focused on the things that I could deal with. I focused on on what I could solve. And then if you solve all these small problems, you solve 1,000 small problems, guess what? You end up fixing everything, right? Again, a lot of people laugh when I have all of these video classes about introduction to this and introduction to that. But that's what you find out. In the real technology world, it's all introduction to this, introduction to that. TCP/IP is a small concept. Ethernet's a small concept. Wireless is a small concept. Antivirus is a small concept. The registry is a small concept. It's 1,000 little small concepts that you figure out, and then that's what turns you into a professional. But that's one thing that I see with a lot of you guys is you get intimidated. Instead of breathing in, breathing out, and dealing with it, you give up. And then you're just not going to get anywhere, right? It's kind of like with exercise. You know, I go out there in the morning now, right? You know, I'm sitting there and I'm doing cycling, I'm doing the spinning, I'm doing the weightlifting. And you know, with weightlifting, with any of this stuff, basically what you're trying to get yourself up to is you're trying to get yourself up to the point of failure. You sit there and you push and you push and you push, and then you get to the point where you get so weak you can barely lift it or move the thing, and then that's when you know that you've done enough. Like when you get done and you can like picking up a cup of coffee actually makes you hurt, that's when you know that you're improving. But as kind of like a metaphor, what many of you guys want to do, instead of going there, instead of putting the weights on, a reasonable amount of weights on, and then pushing to the point of failure, what you guys want to do is you guys want to put like the minimum weight on, and then just sit there with like one arm, like just pressing it for like 1,000 times. Yeah, look at how easy this is. And it's like, yeah, you know, bench pressing 10 pounds is very easy, but I'm not really sure where it's going to get you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you bench press, you sit there and you're bench pressing 10 pounds, right? Somebody gives you the bar, you have your spotter, and they drop that bar onto you. You got it, it's 10 pounds, right? There's no fear there. There's no fear. You're not worried about it. You can press out, you know, 1,000 reps of 10 pounds. But who cares? Where it's valuable is where it's intimidating, right? And anybody who's lifted weights, again, I'm trying not to do free weights now because, again, it screws my wrist. But I've done free weights in the past. And the point that you want to be with free weights is the thing is you've got the spotter. They pull that bar off and they give it to you. And you're just sitting there. You got your arms up. And you're just sitting there and you're looking at that bar. And you're thinking, okay, when I bring my arm back, am I going to be able to push it back up again? And not like, oh, hee, ha, ha. When you're just sitting there like, that's a whole crap ton of weight on that bar. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pretty sure I can do the reps here. But ooh, I hope my spotter is awake, right? That is when you actually improve. That's when you increase your strength. That's when you do better. If you're always bench pressing 10 pounds, you're never going to get anywhere. You always do that, kind of like that gear plus 1 or gear plus 5, you know, a flat road plus 1 or flat road plus 5, is you're always trying to push in. So that's the thing that I see with a lot of you guys, is you guys don't want to. It gets intimidating, you get scared, and then, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. Oh, Eli, you don't know what they wanted me to do. Oh, it was just insane. And it's like, but they wanted you to do it, right? And so that's one thing too with like this whole intimidation thing. Again, I will keep pushing this guy into your guys' heads. And at about the 600th time mark, they'll actually register. But the thing is you always want to be honest, or as honest as possible. You always want to be honest with the transaction to explain what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever anybody asks you something, you want to be honest. You know, can you do this? Look, we have this project going on. Can you do this? And so for me, even now, it's like, ooh, can I do that? And it's like, well, I can do that. But I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not the most efficient person to do it, right? So I don't know. Let's say, so somebody came to me and they wanted to deploy an OpenStack infrastructure. All right, so let's say somebody came to me and I was willing to take that kind of work, which I'm not. Don't even fucking ask because I'm not taking it. I like my life in YouTube world right now. But let's say somebody came to me and they wanted to deploy an OpenStack infrastructure. Now, here's the thing. I get the concept of OpenStack. I understand a lot of the technologies that go into OpenStack, but actually deploying an OpenStack infrastructure outright, I'm a little nervous on, right? That's a little bit intimidating, right? Because I haven't done it before in the past. There's a lot of technologies in there that I haven't actually deployed in the real world. So again, as a technology professional, yeah, I can do it. But being honest, I'm probably not the most efficient person to do it, right? I'm like, if you really need a good rock solid infrastructure, I'm sure, OpenStack infrastructure, I'm sure there are people out there, I know there are people out there that could do it much better than me. But here's the thing, that's what you do. They come to you and they say, are you willing to do this? And you say, well, look, I am willing to do this, but I am probably not your guy. I'm not your girl. I'm not your Z, right? Yes, of course. If you want to give me an opportunity and you want to pay me to try to do it, of course I will say yes. But I'm probably not the person to do it, right? Well, here's the thing. If at that point you've already been honest, and then they say, well, we want you to do it. At that point, that's when you need to put your adult pants on, and you need to actually do it. Because a lot of people will say, oh no, I can't do it. They want me to do too much. But it's like, were you honest with them? Did you tell them that you were an expert at this? They're like, well, no, I didn't tell them I was an expert at it. Did you say what your reservations were? Did you say that they should probably hire somebody else? Yeah, I said that. And then they still gave you the job? Yeah. Then do it to the best of your abilities and figure it the hell out. Because one of the things that you find in life is that a lot of times, again, for employers and bosses and owners, right, they hire the best they can get. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm a boss, if I'm an employer, I am going to hire the absolute best technology professional that I can. And again, you hear that, and you're like, well, look, Eli, even you're telling me that they're going to hire the best technology professional they can. So why the hell should I do this job? Well, here's the thing, dumbass. Dumpkins, you may be the best that they can currently find. And again, that's what a lot of people don't realize, right? I mean, bosses and owners can only hire the people that are actually available, right? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to hire literally the best engineer that the planet has ever given birth to? Of course. And I'm sure everybody would want to hire that one person. But that's the thing. There's only one of them. Right? You got to take what's on the table. And so sometimes with companies, they know they need to deploy infrastructure. We know, for compliance reasons or whatever else, we need to deploy a VMware high availability infrastructure. And you go, okay, well, that's nice, but I don't know VMware high availability. They're like, well, you're the professional we got. Figure it out. And again, so you go to the people, and instead of being intimidated, instead of saying no, you think about it and you go, okay, well, what do I need to do this, right? You actually have a conversation with the boss. And you say, okay, I'm not confident in this. This is what I need. I need to go to training. If I'm going to be deploying this VMware stuff, I need to be able to get up to speed. They have a boot camp in San Diego. I need to fly off to San Diego. I need to fly to San Diego for a week. And maybe spend an extra week there doing informational interviews with people to really make sure I understand what's going on, right? And then the boss can go, well, okay. And they'll give you those resources. And that's what I see so many times is that people just, they just give up. They literally do not accept the offer on the table because they feel intimidated. Oh, Eli, you don't understand. It's the IEEE. Why the hell would they want to hire me? Well, I don't know. But, they're sending you the deposit. So take it, right? Somebody hands you a check. Again, be honest. Always be honest. But then past that, and again, like I say, you may not realize why you're valuable. I mean, you may be the least expensive person, right? You may have, particular skill set. There's all of these things that are going on in the background that you may not realize. And so if you accept the opportunities that are given to you, then those are just additional things to put into the resume to go. And the thing is if you fail, like a lot of people, and that's the whole thing, everybody's worried about actually failing. Again, and you can actually fail. It's a lot harder than you realize. Because again, if you're given the resources that you need, if you're going to deploy a high availability VMware infrastructure, as long as you're given the servers, and as long as you're given the licenses, and as long as you're given a little bit of training, you should be able to do that, right? If you're doing OpenStack, as long as you're getting the time. There's very few times that you can fail. But again, even if you do fail, if you're honest with people, it doesn't really matter so much, right? Again, bosses and owners, a lot of times they know when they're giving somebody work that's outside of their comfort zone, right? And a lot of times they'll give you that work just to see what you'll do. So, that's one thing. Like with the boss may know that you don't know OpenStack, or the boss may know that you don't know VMware. And here's the thing that you don't understand. Let me tell you a little secret. I'm gonna tell you a little secret about how bosses work. Shh. Don't tell anybody else, right? So here's the thing. As a boss, what is the biggest pain in the ass for any boss? What is the one thing that bosses really hate? Mole employees, right? Employees, oh my golly, employees, they're just employees, right? I know some of you are like, Eli, how dare you? Again, once you're a boss, you'll know. So here's the thing, right? So if I'm a boss, and I've got this technology department, and I've got this young whippersnapper that I actually have a lot of respect for. It's like I'm looking at that young whippersnapper, and okay, they've only got their Net Plus or, their MCSA or something. They've only got about 6 months experience, but it's like I'm looking at that person, I'm like, you know what? I think that person can do something. And so I'm sitting there, and I've just been told that for compliance reasons or whatever else, we need to go to an OpenStack infrastructure. We need to deploy an OpenStack infrastructure. So I'm sitting here, and I'm looking at this kid that I like. I like this kid. This kid reminds me of me when I was young. What this kid needs a challenge. This kid needs something that's really going to bring out their inner tech beast. So I know that we're going to have to deploy this infrastructure. So I know within, let's say, a year, we're going to have an OpenStack infrastructure. Well, here's the thing. A year's a long time, right? A year's a long time. So what if I do this? I don't really want to hire another employee because employees are pains in the asses. I don't really want to pay for a truly competent OpenStack engineer because then that's just going to be a really expensive pain in the ass. And there's this kid, and I'm thinking this kid can probably figure out OpenStack. I'm this kid, given a few resources, I think this kid could really shine. So I pull the kid in, and it's like, okay, well, you've been building servers. I see you did that little thing with SNMP or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I want you to build, I'm going to give you a $30,000 budget, and we need to build out an OpenStack infrastructure. It's like, I can't do that. I don't know OpenStack. And the boss looks at it and says, look, I know you don't know OpenStack, but I'm sure you can figure it out. You're a smart kid. You can figure it out. I'm giving you the money. I'm giving you the budget. You tell me what you need, and we'll get it done. Well, here's what you don't understand. Is basically what that boss is doing is that boss is making a very small bet. A very small bet for him or her or zer. And a very large bet for you. Because basically what that person is doing is they're giving you an opportunity to do something impressive. And so for them, there's not a lot of loss because they've already hired you. They're already paying you the salary, right? They've already hired you. They're already paying the salary. They're going to pay you your salary day in, day out, basically regardless of what you do. You sit around the water cooler talking about the latest X-Men movie, and they're still paying you. They're still paying you, right? So basically, he's looking at it, and there's no real loss for your labor cost if you're going off and doing this project, right? And then again, for the hardware and all that kind of stuff for the project, as long as somebody verifies, maybe a manager verifies that the hardware that you're asking for really is legitimate hardware. Well, the thing is, with that, then you're gonna need to buy hardware anyway. You're gonna need to buy servers, and you're gonna need to buy SANs. You're gonna need to buy all this crap anyway. So whether you as the kid buy it, or whether some really expensive professional buys it, doesn't really matter. You need to buy the equipment anyway. So basically what they're making is a small bet, because what they're thinking is if this kid rises to the occasion and builds out this OpenStack infrastructure, we can give them a bonus or a raise of $5,000 a year, right? So let's say you're making $40,000 a year. You actually build out that OpenStack infrastructure, you do something really impressive and it's stable. Everybody else in the department believes that it's stable. Then wow, at the end of the year, you get like a $5,000 or maybe even a $10,000 raise. you're happy, right? You got experience, you're happy, yay. Well, if you're actually able to do it, then that means that the boss, the owner, doesn't have to hire an OpenStack engineer that knows, an expert OpenStack engineer that's going to cost at least $100,000 a year. So basically, for them, a small little bet on you could literally end up saving them $50,000 a year. At the end of the day, even if you do not succeed, right? Even if you're like, but Eli, but if I build it out and I get the bonus and all that or whatever, well, I understand that. But what if I don't succeed? Won't that be a black mark? And it won't. If you go in there, you work every day, you actually show people that you're learning, you show people that you're connecting, you show people that you're going out there and doing what needs to get done. If at the end of, let's say, 5 or 6 months, the solution isn't doing what it's supposed to do, then the boss can shrug their shoulders and say, well, screw it, thanks, you did a really good job there. We're just going to hire that expert like we were going to anyway. And there's no really loss. And again, you got 6 months experience trying to deal with OpenStack, which again is, even if you fail sometimes, a lot of times the experience you get from it is just a very good learning experience. And so why that's valuable to you, and you're like, well, Eli, that's just those bosses again. That's just their owners. They're just screwing with us. If I do well, they save $50,000 a year and I only get a $10,000 bonus. Well, isn't that just how the modern world works? They're just trying to screw us over, Eli. Screw us over. Well, here's the deal, right? So let's say you have, 6 months experience, 1 year experience. You can actually successfully build this OpenStack infrastructure. You do that over 6 months to a year. And then after that, you're the person to manage the OpenStack infrastructure for another year. Guess what? In 3 years, from starting with your A+ or whatever crap you started with, you are now an expert in OpenStack. And what did we say the salary for experts in OpenStack were? $100,000, right? So here's the thing. The boss calls you into the office and says, look, we need to do this OpenStack deployment. Ooh, look, it's 47 minutes. I've been talking for 47 minutes and it's still going. So the boss calls you into the office and says, we want to do this OpenStack deployment. We want you to do this. And you say yes. Worst case scenario, 6 months from now, you've gotten a lot of experience and you haven't been able to make it work. Company really isn't out anything. Best case scenario, which really is what should happen, is you get it all up and running. 2 years or a year and a half after you're given this opportunity, you're now an OpenStack expert, and your salary is going rates $100,000 or whatever it is. Versus if you decide to be intimidated, you decide to be a coward, you decide to be weak, you decide that you are going to make decisions for the boss, because the boss is stupid. The owner doesn't understand. The bosses, they just don't get what's going on. Why should anybody hire you, right? And so you go in there and they say, we want you to do this OpenStack deployment. And you say, no. You say no. Well, here's the deal, right? Okay, the boss doesn't want an argument. Why is the boss going to argue with somebody being ass stupid, right? The boss called you in because the boss saw something in you. The boss saw something in you that they were very impressed with. They think that you're really going to turn out to be something great. So you walk in and you say no. What's the future going to be there? Because then you just told the boss no. So all that hope, all that motivation, everything that they saw in you, they realized that was a mistake. So not only are you not going to get this OpenStack deployment, but then you're also not going to get the VMware deployment, and you're not going to get the hybrid cloud infrastructure deployment, and you're not going to get any of that because obviously you're not motivated. You don't really want to do any of that kind of stuff. So you can just keep doing whatever job it is that you're doing. And so in a year, you'll get your 5% raise. And the year after that, you'll get your next 5% raise. And the year after that, you'll go from junior admin to admin. And you'll just keep trucking along. And 5 years from now, 5 years from now, you're making like $15,000. You're like, Eli, look, in 5 years, I went from $40,000 to $55,000 or $60,000. Look at how well I'm doing. And it's like, yeah, but imagine if you hadn't been a coward, you may be making $100,000 a year. Instead of being told what infrastructure you have to deploy or to maintain, you could have been telling people what infrastructure will be deployed and maintained. All because you decided to be intimidated. Right? And that is the real world. That is the real world. And so many people, they just shoot themselves in the nutsack. And they don't even realize it. And they think they're being smart. That's the worst part. That's the worst part with these people. They're like, oh, look at how smart I am. Aren't I? I told my boss. I put my boss right. You're just like, oh, what the hell's wrong with you? Why? The boss gave you an opportunity. And instead of taking it, you're just like, right? And so that's the thing. Like I say, you go out there and you're going to be intimidated. Again, when I started, it's not even a joke. When I went out, when I was, started out as the enterprise world, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then when I started out as a consultant, again, I tell the story about that, where I was so screwed. It was a .com bust. I was screwed. I didn't know what the hell to do. I had run into this guy in Seattle called Adolfo, and he had told me about when he started his little consulting business doing telephone systems. So I came back to Baltimore. Again, I was screwed. I was working at Mercy Hospital at a temporary work position for $10 an hour. I had my college degree. I had my MCSE. I had 900 hours of Army technical training, working $10 an hour as a temporary file clerk, all screwed. And I still remember, it was like, you know what, at this point, fine, I'll do what Adolfo told me to do. Adolfo told me to go out there and knock on doors and say I did computer repair. Screw it. Can't be any worse than this crap, right? And I still remember, I went out there and I went to one of my friends' families. We really liked each other, and they thought of me as like one of their kids or whatever. And I was having dinner, and I still remember the mom. She looked at me and she was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm going to start this consulting company, try to do this. She said, well, how are you going to get clients? And I said, well, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to knock on doors and see if anybody needs computer repair. And I still remember her like wiping her little mouth, and she like just looked at me and she just fucking started laughing. She started laughing. Oh, you're so cute. That's why we love you. You're just so cute. And I'm like, what the fuck? I am screwed 9 ways from Sunday. I am somebody that is supposed to be on a 5-year retirement plan, and instead, I have a $10 an hour job at my Mercy Hospital as a file clerk. My entertainment every night is, I've got my $10 to buy a gallon of vodka, and I try to go through that as slow as possible. That is like my entertainment, right? And you're laughing at me. But again, am I going to be intimidated? I'm going, oh, well, I guess I can't do it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do it. Again, starting these video classes way back when I started doing these video classes for Everyman IT. Again, like I said, my wife laughed at me. Everybody laughed at me. What gives you the right to do video classes? And I was like, well, that whole consulting thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I see the writing on the wall for computer repair, and this is something that I think I can do. So, well, screw it. Let's see what happens. And that's the thing. Do you rise to the occasion? When you're intimidated, what do you do? When you're intimidated, do you breathe in? Do you breathe out? Do you have an honest conversation with who's going to hire you? And then you figure out how to do it. Or do you say no? And so many of you guys can say no. No, I can't do it. And what you guys don't understand, and girls and Z's, all that don't understand. You people don't understand, right? Is when you say no, you are not simply saying no to this opportunity. You're saying no to every opportunity that comes after that. If I am your boss and I have 20 people that I have to manage, and I give you a very good opportunity that you say no to, guess what? It's going to be 20 people or 19 more people, 19 more things until we come back around to you. Because I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to argue with people about great opportunities. You're some 23-year-old kid. You're getting an opportunity to actually build real infrastructure that will be part of our business for the next decade. And you say no to that? I want to fire you. It's not even that I don't want to give you any more opportunities. I just want to fire you right here and now for being so fucking stupid, right? That's true. It's true. And you're like, But it's true. It's true. So anyways, that is the idea with intimidation and all that kind of stuff. Because again, I still deal with it. I get nervous, I get those calls. I mean, they haven't panned out, but I've gotten calls from, TV shows wanting to be on me to be on. And you get nervous. Oh, I don't know, being on TV. Right? But again, what do you got? You gonna say no? Again, you say no once. When you say no, you are not simply saying no to this opportunity. You're saying no to every single opportunity that comes after. When you say no, you just get scratched off. It's like, okay, this person doesn't want a challenge. This person isn't going to rise to the occasion. That really is true. If you sit there though, you're honest. You say, look, this is why I can't do it. If you're in a 20-person group and they're gonna give you the OpenStack deployment, let's say, and you have somebody else in the group that's actually been studying OpenStack. Now again, you can't be honest. You're like, listen, I am more than happy to do this OpenStack deployment. I will take it in a heartbeat. These are my reservations. But you do know Bob. Bob's actually been working on an OpenStack lab for the past 3 months. So I am more than happy to do what you're asking. More than happy to do what you're asking. But if you want the best chance of success, you may want to talk to them. Again, when you say that, it's in the boss's mind. The boss that makes the decision. When the boss makes the decision, that's a different story. But when you say no, it is done. You are done. You're dead to me. And you're all like, haha, that's a joke. It really is true. Because who the hell wants to argue with people over opportunities? And again, like I say with some folks, oh yeah, they just want to save money. Oh, the boss just wants to save money. But again, the boss knows the opportunity that they're giving you. Again, they know. Like, if I give this person the opportunity and they succeed, within the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to double their value, their open market value. Who the hell doesn't take that? Oh. Well, that is my thought. It's kind of funny. I don't know when it'll cut out now, because like I say, we're doing this VGA mode. And I have no idea how much storage VGA mode takes up. So we're at the 56-minute mark right now, and it's still trucking along. So I guess we will be doing VGA videos going into the future. Because, why not? That's a nice little view. I meant to do more views today, that's right. When I did the view before, I meant to do some more views. There's a nice view there. But that is one of those questions in life. What is a good technological solution? You think everybody going to video with like 4K or 8K or 3D or 360 degree. And then sometimes it's like, what? Good old VGA 680 by 480, whatever the hell this is. That may just be fine. It may be good enough. And that, my friends, is the most important thing in the technology world, is knowing when good enough is in fact good enough. When you can learn that skill, when you can learn that, everything else gets a lot easier. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like, how do I close out today? I kind of figured this would kind of just shut down on me. So, well, we're almost back home again. So, I guess I will shut this off. So I may or may not, this is a Friday, whatever date it is Friday. So I may or may not talk to you guys this weekend. But so I'll see you guys in the next one of these little vlogs. Oops, stop. No, I don't want you to zoom. Stop.